Genesis chapter 27, verse 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakaha Kodash. I want to give double honors to my elder apostles, to my elder bishops, and to my elder teachers of great millstone that rule well, which taught me this truth, who are the true leaders of Israel today, and also peace, love, blessings, and salutations unto the elect. All right, shalom. And the reason for me starting this video off in Genesis, the 27th chapter and the 41st verse, is due to the fact of this devil, right? He made good on his word. He said that he was going to slay his brother Jacob, which is representation of the Israelites, all 12 tribes of the children of Israel, right? You so-called Negroes, you so-called Latinos, you so-called Native Americans, and you so-called Hispanics, all right? And of course, the Israelite foreigners as well, okay? Now, Esau said, because of the blessing that was given unto us through the Heavenly Father, right? Which Esau, he sold his birthright. Okay, he didn't care about his blessing. Okay, but these Edomites, speaking about these elite banking families, they're continuing that tradition of slaying their brother Jacob. Okay, that perpetual hatred that this devil has. And that's really where this whole issue comes down between so-called white and so-called black, right? And of course, the reason why I say so-called is because nobody on the planet Earth is white, just like nobody on the planet Earth is black. When it comes to so-called Negroes, they range from different variations of dark brown to light brown. And of course, for the Northern Kingdom as well, so-called Latinos, so-called Native Americans, so-called Hispanics, right? You have very dark brown, so-called Latinos, Native Americans, and Hispanics, all the way to light brown. Okay, now Esau is the one that came up with the whole color and putting a color on people, calling it race, and determining that's how you determine who that person is. But the Lord doesn't deal with race or color. He deals with bloodlines, nationalities. Okay, and this devil has been trying to parade himself around as if he's of the chosen line, as if he's of the Most High's chosen, which that's a lie. And all of the evidence and the facts of this devil of who he truly is coming out now, of course, via the prophets and also by his own people. Okay, now I went to Chat GPT and I, was just curious about a few things, man. I was just meditating in the spirit about how this devil got an advantage. This devil, he likes to poke his chest out and he likes to, have that pride as far as when it comes to how America was established, right? They try to make it seem as if through their hard work, that's how America was established. They forget all about, the 200 some odd years of free slave labor that they got from the backs of the Israelites, mainly speaking about the Southern Kingdom while they were over here in America, but also when the Northern tribes were in South and Central America. Okay, because mainly what I'm about to go into is ultimately how America became what it is today, that great city. But when it comes to the Edomite, these small hats, they be getting free slave labor from all 12 tribes of Israel. And that's how these bankers and so on and so forth obtain their riches. And of course, we can't forget about when the Federal Reserve was established. And that's more so how, when it comes to these elite banking families, how they continuously get their wealth. Okay, but I just want to go into a little bit of this in Chat GPT, and I have a few precepts lined up, and that'll be the lesson. So I typed in how many years of free slave, how many years of free labor did the white slave masters get from slavery, right? And of course, speaking about these Edomites. So it says that depends a bit on where you're talking about, but here's the clear picture for the United States, since that's usually what people mean, right? And, that's kind of what I meant, but really just going into the wealth of these Edomites, but it all ties in, right? It says, in what became the U.S., slavery began in 1619 with the arrival of enslaved Israelites. It says Africans, but we're not African. Even though they got us from the western shores of Africa, right? Those are Israelites, right? And see, this is the thing. When Jake, they're, these Pan-African Jakes and these Jakes who cleave on to being African and so on and so forth. Yeah, the so-called white man, these Edomites, they took us from the western shores of Africa. But how do we end up in Africa in the first place? Well, when you go back to the the Roman persecution, the time of 70 AD, but really going back to 64, 65, 66, 67 AD. Ultimately, when when the Romans besieged Jerusalem, you had a lot of Israelites that fled into different parts of Asia, and a lot of our people fled into the western parts of Africa. Okay, and that's where ultimately, and we dwelled there, and that's ultimately where Esau came and got us. Speaking about the southern kingdom. Okay, so it says, with the arrival of enslaved Israelites in Virginia, and was legally abolished in 1865 with the 13th Amendment. That's about 246 years of enslaved labor. So Esau got a head start. This devil likes to brag and boast about his power, his wealth, his money, and so on and so forth. But they fail to forget about the advantage and the head start that they had over Jake, man, right? And really, over the rest of the nations as well. But, mainly just speaking about, Jacob and Esau, okay, the two main stars of the Most High's movie, okay? The antagonist and the protagonist, okay? So it says, not every colony state practiced slavery for the entire 246 years. Northern states abolished slavery earlier. Southern states maintained it the longest. And really, that whole abolishing of slavery, because you have a lot of jakes that say, oh, Abraham Lincoln, he freed the slaves. No, he didn't. Ultimately, they converted the slaves from being on plantations to working in corporations, man. At the end of the day, Esau was still getting paid off of that, man, these elites. Okay. So it says the scale exploded over time by the 1800s. Millions of enslaved people were, check this out now, millions of enslaved people were producing enormous wealth, especially through cotton, tobacco, sugar, and rice. Free labor understates the reality. So they're saying if you say free labor, that's an understatement, man. It says enslaved people were not just unpaid. They were legally treated as property. Their labor stolen through violence, family separation, and coercion. And if you look at what these devils are doing now, they're using the same playbook, but now they're getting everybody who's not in that top 1%. So that's why you have a lot of Edomites that are beginning to realize that they're being treated like niggas, okay, in these other nations. Okay, I even saw this one video. I believe it was an airport. It looked like a could have been a Moabite or Ammonite, and something happened, but I don't know what happened. But anyways, he was on the stretcher, and with the police or something like that, and the police had him, I believe, handcuffed. But the main thing is he was saying, oh, you guys are treating me like a black person. So these nations, they realize, what's going on when it comes to the history between Esau and Jacob, man. Okay, but these nations, they understand, and a lot of these Edomites are realizing that what these devils are doing with, DJT and ICE and so on and so forth, they're using the same track record. And ultimately, they want to enslave everybody through the MOTB. They want to make everybody their perpetual slaves, especially you Israelites, man. Okay, so that's why these devils are getting ready to crash the economy and so on and so forth, man. So we're right here. It says Free labor understates the reality. Enslaved people were not just unpaid, they were legally treated as property. Their labor stolen through violence, family separation, and coercion. So then it asked me to, if it wanted me to break it down even more. So I said, sure. So it said, so now it's going to give me two breakdowns. It says, years of enslaved labor by region, the U.S. So overall, 246 years of free slave labor, man. So this is how Babylon was built up, off of the backs of Jake, man. But Esau, they try to push a narrative that Jake was lazy, so on and so forth, man. So all of Esau's lies is being brought up to the forefront now, man. Southern colonies and states practiced slavery continuously from colonial times until around 1865. That's the full 246 years in places like Virginia, South Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana, etc. This is where slavery was central to the economy and expanded most aggressively. Northern colonies and states. Slavery existed from the 1600s, but was gradually abolished after blah, blah, blah. Most northern states ended slavery, blah, blah, blah. So it says most northern states ended slavery between 1780 and 1827. So even still, that's roughly 160 to 200 years of enslaved labor, depending on the state. So still, look at the amount of a head start that these devils got over Jake, man. This is why Esau is so far ahead of Jake, and this is why Jake is at the bottom. Even abolition, northern economies profited indirectly through shipping, insurance, banks, textile mills, so on and so forth, man. Esau was getting that bank off of Jake, man. Slavery continued until 1865. All right, let's go here. How much labor and wealth was taken? This is where the scale really hits. Labor stolen. By 1860, nearly 4 million enslaved people. Check that out, man. You gotta, let's read that again. By 1860, nearly 4 million enslaved people. Most worked 10 to 16 hours a day, 6 days a week for decades, with no wages, no legal rights, no ownership of their own bodies. So think about a company that has 4 million workers over a period of time that works from 10 to 16 hours a day, and they ain't got to pay them. That company everybody gonna eat, except the slaves. But anybody who's involved in that company that has something to do with that company, they gonna eat, man. Their families gonna eat. They gonna have enough for their families to eat. You see what I'm saying? This went on for generations, man. So this is how Esau got that gap. What got that head start? Okay. It says no wages, no legal rights, no ownership of their own bodies. Economists estimate enslaved people worked billions of uncompensated labor hours over generations. Check that out, man. So if this man ain't the devil, then I don't know who is, man. Wealth extracted. If the so-called white man ain't the Edomite, then I don't know who is. Okay. While exact numbers vary, historians agree on this. Enslaved people were the single most valuable economic asset in the U.S. before the Civil War. Jake was the most single valuable asset in the U.S. And even to this day, Jake the biggest spenders. Esau make the most money off of Jake. Just alone, look at the entertainment in the sports world, man. Esau still getting paid off of Jake. These elites, man. These banking families. In 1860, the total monetary value of enslaved people exceeded all U.S. factories, railroads, and banks combined. Cotton alone produced by enslaved labor made up over half of U.S. exports. Over half of U.S. exports, man. So, come on, man. That wealth built universities, all these little colleges and these universities, right, that Esau be establishing. Right. And then look at, they just started. Let's just talk about sports. They just started paying their athletes, which mainly is Jake. OK, and that's still crumbs compared to what these devils got, man. You see? So the wealth from the free slave labor off of Jake helped build universities, capitalize banks, and insurance companies, which these insurance companies are nothing but scams. These banks are scams trying to trap you up their snares. Funded infrastructure, and you got to get insurance, right? Esau getting paid off that. Esau getting paid off of the medical industry. Okay? So hey, these devils, but see, this is a part of how he obtained his blessing. See, the Lord allowed all of this to happen so that the blessing from Genesis 27 and 39 that was given to Esau could play out. And also, of course, with his weaponry, with him having all of this money, he got money to create all of these different type of weapons and so on and so forth, man. But it all was given unto him by the Lord, man. You see? So it said funded infrastructure, created family fortunes that still exist. Yeah, Esau got something called generational wealth. That's something Jake don't know nothing about, man. Meanwhile, formerly enslaved people receive no back pay, no land, no compensation when slavery ended. So then it asked me again to go a little deeper. So I said, yeah. So it says slavery in generational terms, 246 years really mean. A human generation is roughly 25 to 30 years. So slavery in the U.S. lasted 8 to 10 generations. Come on, man. That means children were born into slavery, had children in slavery, whose children also lived and died enslaved. And the same thing gonna happen to these elites. See how the Lord is putting the curses on Esau now? Well, the same thing that happened to us is gonna happen to these elite banking families, man. And ultimately the whole Edomite seed line. So it says children were born into slavery, had children in slavery. So those children that were born into slavery, they had children that was born into slavery, who had children that was born into slavery, and they continued to go on for a long period of time. You see? For many families, no generation ever experienced freedom until 1865. And even then, freedom came with nothing. No land, no money, no education, no legal protection from exploitation. And ultimately, this is due to the curses that was placed upon us from Yahweh Shem Shai. Everything that I'm reading, it was a punishment for us transgressing Yahweh Shem Shai. But the good news is we're at the end of our punishment, man. You see? So that's how all of this played out. Getting ready to finish up. How this connects directly to today's racial wealth gap. It says white families on average could pass down land, businesses, homes, inheritance, benefited from free enslaved labor. Later, New Deal programs, GI Bill, FAH loans, often Edomites are the ones that can receive those loans mostly. It says Israelite families on average emerged from slavery with no property, no compensation, no political power, immediately faced black codes, sharecropping, Jim Crow, redlining, employment discrimination. So Esau be talking all that shit, man, but for some reason, he forgets about his history, his track record. So the gap didn't just happen, it was engineered over time. It was engineered. The result today, the median white family, middle class, Edomite family has multiple times the wealth of the median Israelite family. This gap exists even when education levels are similar, employment is similar, wealth compounds, poverty compounds faster. You see, so yeah, man, that's pretty much the point on that. I got a few scriptures. See, Esau, he received that blessing. Okay, but see, everything that Esau has done, the Lord is going to pay him back. This is Ecclesiastes 3 and 16. And moreover, I saw under the sun, Salakia. Let's go to 3 and 15. That which have been is now, and that which is to be have already been, and the Most High requireth that which is past. You see, so the Lord has remembered everything that this devil has done, man. Okay, and the Lord is getting ready to pay this devil back. Let's go to 2nd Esdras 6 and 18. And it said, behold, the days come that I will begin to draw nigh and to visit them that dwell upon the earth. So the Lord is getting ready to visit these devils, which he's already doing it, and will begin to make inquisition of them. So the Lord is paying attention to Esau. He's investigating this devil, man. This devil is under investigation. And you got the prophets that are calling him out, his own people. So, the witnesses are calling out this devil. So this fugitive is being brought up on charges, man. And he's about to be sentenced. It says, what they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness. And when the affliction of Zion shall be fulfilled. So our affliction is getting ready to be fulfilled, man. And these devils, they're about to face the ultimate judgment. Okay, a life sentence with the death penalty, man. And that's what this devil got coming into him. All right. Real quick. Psalms 137. Let's get it. Psalms 137:7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. So the Lord ain't forgot what this devil has done, man, because of his perpetual hatred, like it speaks about in Ezekiel 35:5. You see, ultimately, with that mindset he had was a trap that is going to lead this devil to exist no more, man. I'm going to end off on this, Obadiah, the 10th verse. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee. That shameful spewing is covering him right now, and thou shalt be cut off forever. So this devil, he's getting ready to go into slavery, and then he's going to be cut off forever, man, beginning with these elite banking families, man. Okay. But, I just wanted to go into this Chat GPT lesson. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Until next